And with people like Bateman and Gildart and not Willie Isa, but whoever else running those lines into those spaces, maybe we'll see some of that.
Yeah.
And then we've got Matty Smith, who's arch drop goal man.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick him to.
Not a lot of point in scoring a drop goal if you're 12 points behind, though, is there?
He's going to win. He's going to score the winning drop goal.
It's going to
be 29-28 a Matty Smith drop goal.
Do you know what? I hope so. Just because it would be value for money to see that. I absolutely hope that comes true. I'll be made up if that's what we get.
It could be any score,
of course,
but it's definitely going to be one extra to Wigan from a Matty Smith drop goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to tip, as much as I hope that we get that, because that would be sensational and well worth the entry fee alone. I'm going to tip a Hull FC victory. I'm going 30 points to 18 in favour of Hull. I think that in terms of just work through the lineups that are liable to be going out there. Front row, I think there's not a doubt in my mind that Hull's front row is going to have the better of yours, given the sparsity of front rowers that you've got available to you at the minute, only exacerbated by the fact that you're going to be missing.
Yeah, Tao will be back from his ban.
Oh, Tao back. Right, well, that improves things slightly.
And we don't know Frank Paul's definitely got a game ban yet, but I'm assuming he is, and he deserves it anyway, as far as I'm concerned.
He doesn't have the EGP, does he? I think that Hull's front row, if it does what it's been doing all season, will get over the top of yours. In a battle, there's been, I'm not taking anything away from Wigan, but that's what I feel will happen. When you brought the second row up, I actually felt confident in Hull FC in the second row. With guys like Sikimano and Gaz Ellis being back this week, having played against Salford, I actually thought that they were going to be a bit more. They were going to be tightened up with those two being in there and make some tackles, and that the old wily guys like Manu and Ellis were going to be able to get themselves into positions where they can neutralise some of that, some of the lines that your second row has run. Mark Sneed's is the big difference maker for me. The kid's on tremendous form, and I think if he gets enough ball and enough time and enough of a platform, he could well be the difference, because I actually think you're stronger in the three quarters overall than Hull FC are. So for me, if you're going to win this game, it's going to be about getting, doing something that you've not really done this season, get the ball out wide quick and try and exploit.
We get the ball out wide plenty, it's just...
Perhaps
just telegraph, isn't it?
Yeah, perhaps be a bit more clever in the way that you get the ball out wide, and try and isolate people like if Michaels is playing. I know he can score a try, but I think he's got some defensive lapses in. But that's a big ask, I would say, coming back off a performance where there's so much to fix up from Wigan. So I'm going to go 30 points to 18 victory in favour of Hull.
I think unquestionably the most creative ball in hand halfback on the field will be George Williams. Mark Sneed's in the best form in terms of kicking and organising his team, but splitting Wigan apart. I don't see his short kicking game being any better than George Williams is.
Perhaps not.
The thing about the second row is it's not what they can do with the ball for Hull FC. It's Minicello misses quite a lot of tackles, and I think you can square up other players like Pritchard and Manu. I think you can square them up. You can get the feet pointing the wrong way. It's just whether Wigan. I think
Manu's a bit more lateral than Pritchard.
I mean, Ellis defends in the middle, obviously.
Yeah.
So. Anyway,
we'll see. We'll see. Well, he's going to be an entertaining game. And to be honest, I'll tell you right now, I'll take a Wigan drop goal win if there's 28 and 29 points on it. Then I'll take that every day of the week. Second semi-final then on Saturday sees Warrington take on Wakefield. Starting to feel gradually a little bit sorry for Wakefield in this one. Their injuries just coming at the worst possible time heading into this game, and Wire are on a reasonable run of form. I can't see Warrington losing this one, given the mini injury crisis that Wakefield are going through in their forward pack. I don't think they're going to be able to do even enough to lay even the most basic of platforms, unfortunately. And
counted into.
Says every week, rugby league's a simple game. Good forward play, good platform, make space for your halves, and it's not going to happen, I don't think, for Wakefield. What are you laughing at?
Just the Mark Gayer thing again.
What Mark Gayer thing?
Just how much you're looking like you would expect.
He's a good-looking bloke.
Sorry, go on. Yeah. No.
So I just don't think Wakefield are going to have the opportunity to do that with the people that they've got missing. They've got some flair players in inverted commas in guys like Fafita who can bring something and a bit of drive and a bit of something different to the squad, but Warrington across the park, are going to have too much for them, unfortunately, and I'd love to see a West Yorkshire team get to the final, but I think Warrington are going to win. I'm going 28 points to 10 in favour of the Wire.
Yeah, all the things you said make me predict a big win for the Wire as well, which is a shame. I just don't think Wakefield have enough bodies to show that grit. Yeah. Although, they did beat Warrington earlier in the season, and they do have a knack of turning up.
Yeah.
But this is a big game, and that knack of turning up on a Sunday against a maybe slightly downtrodden side who doesn't really want to be turning up at Bellevue is different to that knack of winning in a partisan atmosphere on a big stage, well, in an important stage. And I just think that extra bit that Wakefield sometimes have through spirit and unity and stuff just isn't going to be there.
Yeah.
Isn't going to be enough.
Yeah.
To take them over the line with the players they've got out and with the opposition they're facing off against.
Yeah.
So 36-16 in favour of Warrington. I think that a couple of the tries will just be pad it out later on.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be fairly comprehensive.
There you go. But if you're out and about and not going to be able to get down to a game or watch them live on the BBC, our friends on Twitter, the SL Clubs account, will keep you abreast of everything that's going on, and I heartily recommend you give them a follow. Into League One then, what have we picked out as League One game of the week, Mark?
Keighley against Hunslet, big game at the bottom end of the sort of playoff reckoning. The winner of this game will be in the playoff spots for potentially fighting for promotion at the end of the year, and it gives them a good impetus to leap forward from that. The loser of this will be outside of that. They're both on equal points at the moment, these two sides. I think it's a big a game that's going to have a big say in what happens in that championship playoff.
Yeah.
Super 8s.
Yeah, absolutely. Into the NRL then, what have you picked out for us?
A few games, and we're starting to look more so now at games that affect the table standings. So the Warriors and the Panthers are very close together in the table.
Yep.
It's got a bit of British interest, of course, in Hardacre, who might get a bit of a go, but it should be a good game. That one on Saturday. That one's early doors on Saturday, so if you're woken up by the kids, get your Premier Sports on.
There you go.
Bang the iPad in their hands. Get the Premier Sports on. Cowboys versus Storm. That's
some good parenting.
That follows that on Saturday, and obviously they're probably the two most. Whilst the Sharks are in form in terms of don't lose a game at the moment, these two sides put on some stonking great wins last week, and really, I'd say these teams are dominating the opposition more completely than the Sharks.
Okay.
That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
The Titans versus the Sharks on Monday. The Titans are in good form.
I worry for this one. This might be the one.
And it's again the Sharkies on Monday. I've told you they're always on bloody Monday.
The 2 out of the last 3 weeks have been on a Monday, but about
4 out of the last 6.
3 or 4 out of the preceding ones they weren't, because I've recorded and watched it, I'm almost certain. Right, there you go then. So that's your Super League pod taken care of for the week. All that remains for us to do ahead of this exciting semi-final weekend is to wrap up the show. Right, so that's another Super League pod in the bag. We'll make short work of this one this week, Mark. I think it'll be a relatively short show, would we say, or are we at about average?
Well, it depends how long we talk about the rookie, but we're going to get up to about 2.5 hours, yeah.
That's all right, standard issue stuff then. Okay, well let's... how do you want to do it? Should we do SLP recommends first, or should we do the rookie first?
Drop in our recommends.
SLP.
If you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem at all. I'm going a bit of a different route with SLP recommends this week, and certainly not to take the role of moral authority or anything like that, but obviously the world at the minute is a bit of a fucking mess, and we all kind of are being turned on each other and encouraged to hate one another for all our various differences and what have you, and it sort of gets me down.
It's easier to make the poor hate the poor than to change
and them. People who aren't the same colour as you and stuff. Anyway, I was watching apropos of nothing, I was watching YouTube, and I was watching an interview, because I watch a lot of Stephen Colbert and things like that. There was an interview between Stephen Colbert and a rapper called Killer Mike, who I don't know if you've heard of, but he's a very socially active rapper, very, very good. Anyway, Nothing to do with Killer Mike, but he was talking about his work in his community. And as a side note, he said, I'd recommend anybody who wants to grow themselves on the issue of race in America, YouTube Jane Elliott, Brown Eyes, Blue Eyes Experiment. This is well worth a look. This is for anybody who, no matter what your opinion on race is, it's worth a look. So I did just that, and I YouTubed the Jane Elliott, Brown Eyes, Blue Eyes Experiment, and it was fascinating. It's from about, Jane Elliott, to give you some background, she was a primary school, elementary school teacher in America, around about the time that Martin Luther King was assassinated. She's white, and Martin Luther King's assassination had a profound impact on her to the point of it influencing the way she was teaching the young people in her care who were predominantly white and things like that. And she's gone on to be quite an outspoken voice on this subject in American culture. She's in the 60s or 70s now, but when this 45-minute experiment documentary type thing was filmed at a university in America, I'd say around about 2000, if I'm guessing by the clothing of everybody. Everybody kind of looks a little bit like the sports gear and stuff kind of gives it away, and everybody else looks like they're in like Third Eye Blind and stuff like that, so they're all kind of geared up that way. But it's an experiment they do where basically they start to treat people with brown eyes and blue eyes differently based on their eye colour rather than their skin colour, and it's pretty brutal. It's tough viewing, and the way that they go about doing things and the way that she executes it is really harsh. But it's an interesting watch, and it was a good way to kind of open up the conversation about how we treat each other and how people of different backgrounds treat each other. So it's a bit heavy duty, but
what's the purpose then?
The purpose from her point of view was to illustrate to white people in America the day-to-day struggle of being of colour or of a different ethnic heritage. So there are some crossovers into, I feel, British life in the way that we look at people as well. And it's quite interesting the way that there was some sort of non-overt racism going on, like the way that people say, "Oh, I don't see colour, I just see you as a human being," and how frustrating people find that to be sometimes and stuff like that. So it might not be for everybody. It might not be something that anyone's interested in. But I would recommend having a look at it, because I like to think I'm quite a right-on sort of person, and actually some of it landed with me and made me question the way I say things and view things, and I'm pretty fucking liberal, man. So it was worth a look. So
I'm sure. Yeah,
my recommends Jane Elliott, Brown Eyes, Blue Eyes Experiment.
Did you see? I guess a similar, in terms of a social experiment type thing. The thing with the girl where they put her in dirty clothes and then clean clothes, and how she was treated totally differently by passers-by.
Yeah, that was in like Georgia or somewhere, wasn't it? Yeah, that was fascinating too.
And they had to stop it because the little girl was getting so upset at how she was being treated just because they put dirty clothes on her and not brushed her hair.
There was another interesting one that I saw that they did in Lithuania. They got a black guy with an iPad who was an English speaker who just... The premise is that I've just moved to Lithuania, and he says, "Oh, I've got this message on Facebook to strangers. I just had this message come through, but I don't speak your language very well. Can you tell me what it says?" And of course, what's in the message is like vile, hate-filled bile against African people, and they're filming the reactions of the people that read or are asked to read it. And some people just say, "Oh, there's nothing in here for you," and like one woman breaks down in tears, and actually watching that one was quite heartwarming to see. People's reaction to hate in a positive way. So, I've taken us down. We've covered a lot here today, and I've taken us down a bit of a of a heavy duty tip. So, please, will you lighten things up for the love of God?
Well, I spoke a bit about the canoe, haven't I, today?
You have.
And my canoe is an Intech K2 Explorer, which I understand is mid-range-ish in the self-inflatable canoe market,
right?
But I would strongly recommend getting a canoe.
Can I just say at this point that the phrase "mid-range inflatable canoe" is one of the more Partridge things you've said in quite some time? Go ahead.
It's no hipsters really big, but it's in the ballpark.
Hipsters really? Yes. Go on, man.
Well.
I'm sorry. I was inside. I can hear.
So when I was in the
mid-range,
when I was in the pub after being on the canal at the weekend, a lad came up and was talking to me about it and asking me about what it was like because he'd never used one, but he'd seen that started coming down in price recently. And my particular canoe is now you can pick it up for 80 or 90 quid. I hear. I'm not sure how much Emma paid for it, but